right, we'd like to call this meeting of the West Allis West Milwaukee School District to order, please. If we could please rise for the pledge, and Mr. Schultz, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Suzette, can we do the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Klug? Here. Mr. Schultz?
Present.
Mr. Bailey?
Present.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Ustra?
Here.
Mrs. Justum is excused. Mr. Sikich is excused. Mr. Keller?
Here.
President Emmett?
Here. Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Do we have any changes or modifications to tonight's agenda?
No changes.
No? Okay. All right, and then we will move into public comments for this evening. All right, and then just a reminder that the board does not engage, debate, or reply during public comments, but instead a response will be provided by the school district before the next school board meeting. So we have one listed, Michael Jocks. If you would come up to the podium, when you please do, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Name is Michael Jocks, 2206 South 74th Street. I'm here to ask the board for a readdress of the Abstinence Centered health class. Since this class was approved unanimously by a previous school board and has been in existence for over 18 years. From the get-go, the road to elimination of the ACH has been one of deceit. The plan to adopt the ACH has been in the works prior to my meeting with Diedre, Hengel and Ryan Hammernick, and the school board member Dan Daly last October, where we discussed the Abstinent health class and the misinformation being fed to middle school kids. The condoms are almost 100% effective, contrary to the CDC failure rate of 18%, while not teaching the kids that it's against the law for 12 to 14-year-old kids to be having sex in the first place. Not once did they tell me they were planning to eliminate the ACH, choosing to keep me in the dark so as to avoid any pushback, I suppose. I asked for extra minutes, again was denied. Censorship, anyone? They have told the board that the opt-out is an adequate replacement for the ACH, knowing full well that just about no one ever opts out of these classes. No kid wants to be put on the spot by his peers because he's absent from the class, and the other kids will question. They told the board that this is costing them money, knowing full well that there is no increase or decrease in staff, regardless if they teach or do not teach ACH, since all students have to take health. As long as there are enough students and as long as proper communication to parents occurs, we have had way above the minimum requirement of 15 students having 30 to 40 at each of the two schools every year. The elimination of the ACH makes this the only class where there's no longer a choice. We have a choice for every other subject except this, where it deals with family, religious values, and moral values. I guess the whole idea of always being for the kids is really hot air, since it's perfectly fine to take a legitimate choice away from kids and parents. I told the board these classes are aligned. Again, untrue. One teaches over a 4-week period the social, emotional, and psychological benefits of abstinence till marriage, while the other one gives pretty much lip service to the abstinence message, while moving on to teach contraceptives and teach them state confidentiality laws. So all these kids learn they don't have to deal with their parents, driving that wedge between parent and child, and proceed to teach them where to get all the reproductive services without parental knowledge. No other field would schools teach these kids something that was wrong, such as stealing, doing drugs, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes. Because we know X number of these kids will break the rules, we should all teach them how to do it more safely, or how to do it without getting caught. Schools ought to be teaching kids to not have sex before marriage, to obey the law, to stay in school, get a good education, get a job, get married, and then have kids, to avoid a life of poverty and misery. By teaching minors so-called safe sex, because it's against the law for minors to have sex in essence, our schools are aiding and abetting a criminal act for minors, a criminal act which, if they get caught, a 12 to 13 or 15-year-old kid could be charged with a sex crime and be branded for the rest of his life. No, by taking the choice away from parents and kids after 18 years, the district has demonstrated the district does not believe in cultural diversity. They are not being about for all the kids, A district is about indoctrinating all the kids into a certain mindset, and parents be damned. The district does not believe in choice against freedom. Nothing could be more vile than this, and if this board says nothing, does nothing, will demonstrate to the citizens who vote for them that they do not give a rip about the citizenry who voted them into office. Now, I have a packet to give to all the school board members here, and I hope you'll pass it on to the 2 board members that are absent. And I want to give you the list that's in there so everybody knows what they're going to get, and anybody who wants to request information from the board regarding what's in that packet, they'll have the opportunity to do so. Topic number 1 that's in that packet is from ETR Associates. Most all your school districts, including West Allis, uses ETR Associates material for sex education and health education. In there it states, according to them, that over less than 50% of the high school kids and less than 4% of the middle school kids are sexually active. And yet you're teaching all these kids that they can be sexually active, regardless that over half of them at the high school won't be, and only less than 4% are sexually active. Topic 2 is a marked up copy of the school district's flyer. Difference between CH and ACH clearly demonstrates they are not aligned. Topic number 3, abortion providers, former abortion providers such as Abby Johnson, who came out of the abortion industry, was a former Planned Parenthood director, all will tell you that sex education is what sells abortion because they increase the number of kids who are sexually active, and they know that the contraceptives have X amount of percentage failure rate and is extremely high for the teenage population because of human error. Topic number 4, the stats of out-of-wedlock pregnancy and the gradual legalization of contraception. What most people don't know is prior to the 1960s, contraception was illegal in this country. The Supreme Court first began to whittle away at that in 1965, again in 1972, and finally in 1977 they gave permission for contraception for minors without parental consent. And after that, starting in the early 80s to late 70s, they started pushing the contraceptive education in the schools. And with those stats, you can see we went from 3% of out-of-wedlock pregnancies over a 50-year period up to 42%.
Mr. Jocks, you're at 6 minutes, just so you know, so if you could please get to your point.
Just
then
giving
you can
the
give those out.
topics that you're going to get.
Okay, thank you.
Wisconsin statutes which call for community-wide H&G curriculum committee review, and you folks all did it in-house. You're not honoring the spirit of the law by any means. On that topic number 5, I also have how the school is supposed to communicate, and I was told last year that they did not do the robocalls as they were supposed to at West Allis Central. I also found online that the course catalog changed it so they no longer had the description of 2 classes as they always had in the past. Again, another communication gaffe as far as teaching, letting parents know what's really being done. And topic number 6 is the speech I wanted to give the board, but was denied by the school board president. So I have enough here for 1 board member. I hope you people will turn on and give the ones who aren't here one. I did not want to give one to the administration. I figured you folks will make a copy for them.
Thank you very much. All right. We'll then move on to item 7, the superintendent's report. Oh, they grabbed it when the meeting started. Would you like to address the board as well? Okay, you come up and please give your name and address, and then for the record, please.
Sound system is really crazy.
Yeah, I did. Put it in
It
here.
sounds like you're in a tin can. Well, my name is Deborah Morin. My address is 2345 South 75th Street. And I'm here addressing the same topic as Mr. Jocks. What Mr. Jocks said is that there was a human growth and development curriculum or a sex ed for abstinence-only sex ed, or I don't know the titles and I don't know the words and the semantics get all mixed together. But what I'm here to ask the board, and I know I'm not going to get responses, but I need someone to look into this, is a process question, procedure question. I was very interested and supportive of having an abstinence-only sex ed program. When my 4 kids went through the school system, my last one was able to have that class, and I was very happy that that choice was afforded me. And I'm very unhappy to see that that choice is now assumed to be taken away from the parents in the West Allis School District. When I looked into what the law had said. I remember in the past there was an advisory committee for human growth and development curriculum that needed to be comprised of people from the community. So I went back to the law and I looked at it, and it's still there. And so I know that before this went into place, the advisory committee 18 years ago advised the board to have this class put into the curriculum and made available to the students. I am not aware of another advisory committee, community advisory committee being convened to change that recommendation. And I'm not sure the board can just take this class out without following that because it's in the law. Now, I know it says that there's the statute, the statutory duties and powers of school boards shall be broadly construed to authorize a school board action that was, so it goes on. But the history says this section expresses the legislature's intent to give school boards broader powers and wide discretion in exercising those powers. But it does not mean that when the legislature has previously authorized the board to take particular actions using specific or specified procedures, the board has the authority to follow other procedures in taking those particular actions. So then I go back to the Human Growth and Development section of the statutes, 18.09 or 019, and it says that the purpose of this section is to foster a partnership between parents of pupils and the school district. So I don't see the partnership if you guys just decided to we're just gonna up and pull this class because we decided we don't think we want it anymore. And no one consulted the community, especially the parents. So when you go further down in that section on human growth and development, it basically says an advisory committee. Any school district that offers a human growth and development curriculum, the school board shall appoint an ad hoc advisory committee, which they did do, whose role is to advise the school board on the design and implementation of the human growth and development curriculum and to review the curriculum. So they did that. They made the recommendations, the school board followed it, it was in place, and all of a sudden, it's just gone. It's just, and from listening to Mr. Jocks talk about, it was kind of insidious that it was no longer in the course curriculum book, and then there weren't robocalls going out letting parents know that this was a choice. I know we're all pro-choice, right? We'd like to have that choice as parents. It says, if you read the rest of the statute, which is subsection 5 of that, parents, teachers, school administrators, pupils, healthcare professionals, members of the clergy, and other residents of the school district shall comprise the committee. No one category of member shall constitute more than 1/5 of the membership of the committee, except that parents may comprise more than 1/5 of the membership of the committee. And the last sentence is, no more than 1/4 of the members of the committee may be made up of employees of the school district or their spouses, or members of the school board or their spouses. So if you convened a committee to advise the school board and it comprised of employees and their spouses and school board members and their spouses, I'm not sure that that's following the intent of the law. So those are my questions. I'd like to have them answered. I know I can't expect an answer now, but I'm concerned about that. I don't think the proper procedure was followed, and I think that needs to be rectified. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Did you wish to address